Alrighty then, I'm gonna make a brown sugar and pecan mashed sweet potatoes. Or, as Tommy from I'm a Redneck Cockerham pronounces it, potatoes. So anyway, brown sugar and pecan mashed sweet taters is what I call it. This is what happens when you ask your husband to get you 4 large sweet potatoes. Good Lord. This is a standard can of field peas and snaps. This is a monster. So the first thing I'm gonna do is, I've already washed them. I'm going to peel them and then I'm gonna boil them chunked into cubes because this is massive. I can't imagine how long that would take to get in the center. But this is a wonderful holiday meal. We eat this once every 2-3 months because it's easy to make and it's delicious and you can't go wrong when something has pecans and beautiful sweet taters. So here we go, let me get this done. Get a cup of brown sugar out, and people have asked me, how do I store my brown sugar? Well, I use the redneck method, and I learned from Texas Prepper 2 to take a little corner of a coffee filter. I fill it with rice, I masking tape it. You could duct tape it if you want to keep it really red. And then I put my little brown sugar bag in here with a rubber band on it, very pliable. I don't have a brown sugar bear. You can certainly get one of those to absorb moisture, but I don't have any problems, and I live at the beach, so I have a lot of moisture problem. So I'm gonna get a cup of brown sugar, and then I'm gonna get a whole stick of butter, and once my potatoes are fork tender, I'll be putting them into a bowl and mixing this up in there. So here's our topping. Our topping is 1 cup of brown sugar, flour, and the amount of flour, it's all purpose, is 1/3 cup, and also a cornbread mix. So I make it's a cornmeal mix, so I just make my own. All it has is some salt, baking powder in it, your yellow cornmeal, and it's not hard to make, or you can buy a box or a bag of cornmeal mix. So of the cornmeal mix, it's 1/3 cup. So then I'm gonna put the pecans in here. This will be my topping, and a 1/4 cup of warm water. So I'm gonna mix that up. That's gonna be the topping that I put on top of this brown sugar and pecan mashed sweet taters. It's a great casserole. Kids love it also. So here it is. This is almost 1 3/4 cup pecans, not the pieces. Some of them are chopped in half. I don't get the kind out that little bag. So this is gonna be our gloopy but delicious topping for this. You can mix it with a mixer if you want before you put your pecans in it, but it's not hard to mix, and I'm old. If I can do it, you can do it. If you ain't got the arthritis, if not, use your mixer. Make your husband do it. Manly men. Well, it cut off something that I said. There also, you get a stick of butter in here. You can mix it with a large fork if you want, just stir it in. It's just our topping. And you melt it in your microwave. If you don't want to nuke things, you can certainly melt it on your stovetop. Ain't hard, it's just cooking a little topping, mixing together a topping actually. We ain't even cooking it. Woo, getting a steam bath. So I got my husband to put these in a colander and then into a bowl for me. I'm gonna mash them up with a tater masher. You can do this with a mixer, okay? I just don't really love to whip out a mixer. Once I get my beautiful Bosch, I might be excited to do it. So what I'm gonna do is mash these up. Then I'm gonna add 2 large eggs. I've got another cup of brown sugar, a 1/2 cup of half and half. You can use cream if you want, but this is more of a poor man's meal. So half and half is fine. If you only have milk, you can do that. And these is hot. So I'm gonna mix this up, and then I'll show you what it looks like. Still ain't hard, is it? And it will be delicious. Beats the thing with marshmallows on it, and it is fabulous. And sweet potatoes are easy to grow. They're incredibly good for you, like a carrot. Remember, they're orange. And they're very easy to can and have on hand also. It's not just a seasonal thing, but they're much easier than potatoes to grow, in my opinion. Just who needs a monster potato that my husband got me? Woo, that sucker was big. So we'll get our stick of melted butter in here. Butter makes you happy. And butter is our friend. You remember when they told us, oh, butter will kill you, you need to eat margarine? Yeah, let's all get us some petroleum products. So butter's back on our happy thing. Then we're gonna get our brown sugar in here. I'll get this mixed up. And the last thing I'll add is my half and half after I incorporate this. And again, you can do this in a mixer. I'll put my 2 eggs in because it's getting cooler as I stir it. Still isn't hard, but it's gonna be great, and it is something you don't just have to have at the holidays. I've got a casserole dish buttered also. My brother and I loved making this growing up because we boiled the sweet potatoes outside on our own little sort of rocket stoves, and then it was easy for us to drain them, and then mashing them up was fantastic because my mother made huge things of this. And this is something else. As you get this stuff on your fingers, eat it. If you're having people over who thinks that's unsanitary, these are not your people, okay? It's just my husband and I, and considering the fact that we make out, I really don't think he cares if I lick my finger on some of these. So now the last thing is our eggs. Oh, those are some pretty eggs. And then we would lick this bowl. It's quite desserty without being incredibly sweet. So I'm gonna incorporate this, get it into a casserole. It's very heavy. The bowl is heavy, but the stuff in it, those were monster potatoes. So I just prefer this to a mixer. One less thing to clean, it ain't hard. So I do mine in one larger casserole and then one smaller one. You can do this in 11 by 13. I don't care for it that way because you get a lot more topping than you have potatoes at the bottom. It's a little too sweet for me and heavy. So, and what we always did growing up was have smaller casseroles so that at different ends of the table you could have them. These are also easier to store in my refrigerator. So once I cook them, I can still put the lids back on these and I can stack them on each other in the refrigerator as opposed to something with aluminum foil on the top. So unless you're doing something buffet style, even if you were, you could have this one at the bottom, this one raised up, or have this one in the front. When it's emptied, you go ahead and here's your main casserole. So I like to do things that are easier. Both of these easily fit into my dishwasher on the pot and pan scrubber and get really clean. So now I'm gonna glop on my topping and then it's gonna go in the oven at 350 for, let me see how long, 30 to 35 minutes. And I always follow a recipe so that if I ever make changes, I'll make a note on it in pencil so that if I liked it, I leave it on there and write it in ink. If I didn't, I erase it. So I am a recipe follower, right? Even when I adapt something, I make notes so that every time I make it, it's delicious. Never had to change this when my mom had this one down. And I'm Southern and I love sweet potatoes and they're really, really good for you. And kids can help you do this. Driving a potato masher is so not hard and it's fun. I mash my toppings down a little bit with my spoon, just kind of smushing it down around on the sides after I drop some little gloppy globs, and then it really sinks and melts down into your sweet potato. So I'm gonna put in the oven. I'll show you what it looks like when I come back. That'll give me enough time to lick that bowl of mashed sweet potato mixture down clean. I'll still wash it with dish soap because I'm not uncivilized, okay? I'm not that gross. Alrighty then, fresh out of the oven, and this has stood up. It's easily come up 2.5 inches. And notice you can get this browner on the top if you want to. Hear that little crust? And over here,